Welcome back to another tier list. Now this one, the highly anticipated duo tier list. Got a lot of requests asking why did I not do a duo tier list, to which I have to say, you know, squads is the superior mode, but I do gotta respect the duo people, and I did play a bunch of duo games. I tested it out, asked around a little bit, so here will be my duo tier list. So, to start us off, one thing that I want to say is the dynamic of duos mode works differently. So it's interesting to find how certain hunters feel different and work differently compared to the amount of fighting or the amount of density of teams around certain areas, but also how you make things together because you're making a composition of only two hunters. So this will be a combination of the hunter's value, but also the hunter's value together with people in general. So it's a mix of both. But also make sure to understand that in a tier list, even if there is an S tier hunter and a C tier, D tier, whatever hunter, if you are better than the other person, you will be winning. Most of the case, this is in a scenario where if you look at these hunters and you have an equally skilled player on both sides, then this hunter will probably get more value in most case scenarios. So your own individual skill will always be the most important thing. But to get us started, let's look at Bishop. So Bishop, I think, is really good in duo. Now, how good when I say Bishop is, now in relation to other hunters, I feel like she has a very good mode of poking, playing with range, but also engaging. And I think that's a very neat and important thing. One, because there's teams all around on the map. You want to be able to play in standoffs, because playing in 2, 3, 4-way standoffs are a lot more likely in duos than squads. So I think neatly she already fits a good purpose in A tier with having different modes you can play her. Her engage potential is really good because getting into a fight and blowing up one target makes it so you have a big advantage over another enemy in, say, for example, a 1v1 scenario. So with the different modes, I think she has a lot of good play styles. Now with Bral, he's in a similar boat. Now, I would have him a little bit lower. Reason why is because his power level is not that high. This you can also remember back from the squad tier list. I do think his modes are good. He does have range abilities. He can like charge up his LMB, you know, attack from range. And he has really good engage tools to potentially one-shot people. I think his issue though is in chaotic situation with multiple teams around. Bral is really good at 1v1 scenarios like team versus team. But in a chaotic nature, I think Bral then struggles more in duo queue than he does in squads. I don't think he's bad by any means, but I do think he struggles, and from what I've seen myself, he does easily fall down against range characters, especially when you are in situations where there are many teams around. Over to Celeste. I think Celeste has a very good kit in duos. You have big AoEs, you have good kiting tools, you have good range abilities, but also engage tools that can help you separate areas, separate people, and hold space. Now, I think her kit, or like her power level, isn't as high as Bishop, but I think it's up in A tier where you provide a lot of stuff for your team and also synergize as well with other hunters playing in that style. Then moving over to Aluna, I think Aluna struggles a little bit. Now, she likes the chaotic environments, potentially wisping up people, but the problem is that you only have one teammate you kind of want to get up. And if you're alone as an Aluna, your value suddenly drops down a lot unless you're, you know, reviving your teammates, because two of your abilities is kind of dependent on that. Her damage is decent, her buffs on her LMB has been good, but I do think she struggles a lot in duos in general. Why would you pick Aluna? When other supports are kind of just preventing what she wants to play for. Now, Felix, I think Also, again, more of on the melee characters struggle more in duels because of how many teams and how easy it is to be more ranged characters. I think his engage is very predictable. It's slow and you can like easily react to it. Now in chaotic environments, he does like being able to burn through multiple areas. His ult is really good to get around. I do think he's still up in B tier. His power level is good. It's not that he's bad by any means. He's like average good there, but he struggles against hunters in the upper areas of the tiers basically. Ghost, I think, is niche. A problem with Ghost is that he is really hard to get value out of. He's better when you can play around his strengths with multiple hunters. That's where you can see more value out of Ghost in squads. But I do think he struggles kit-wise to get value in duo situations because of the chaotic environment and low mobility and how well you need to play on Ghost to be able to get that kind of value. I do think he struggles a lot. I do think he has more value than Aluna in general, but I think he even would struggle very hard against both Bral and Felix, and also doesn't provide much duo combos potentially with others. Now over to Hudson. I think Hudson also again struggles with the chaotic environment of duos. What he does provide though is good zoning tools and good range to be able to join in the poking battles. But in chaotic environments, I do think he struggles. I think he's also in the middle where he provides more than Ghost can do, but will struggle against other top tier hunters if played correctly against him. Then over to Jin. Jin has a hard time in duo, guys. I have been seeing a lot of Jins. I've been playing with Jins, and Jins, they struggle. Like he kind of likes the chaotic environments, but he needs to get onto target. And when people are aware of his playstyle and how he one-shots people, and there's multiple teams around in the chaotic setting, the assassin style struggles a lot. Also with his power level, being able to one-shot is really strong, but I would honestly rather have an Aluna on my team than Jin. I think Jin really struggles in duels currently. Now over to Jewel. I think Jewel is a very interesting case where if there is no oaths in the game, Jewel is instantly S tier. If she's meeting an oath, she instantly struggles and are more like in top B, like low A tier style. So what I want to say though is that it is very interesting with the dynamic of how many teams there are. There are 20 teams of 2 people each team. So the chances of meeting oaths are like slimmed down. I do want to like bring up Oath here because we're talking like I need to talk about these two in a relation because of the power level. Oath is, even in duels, one of the strongest hunters, or like probably the strongest hunter in the game currently. He's really strong. But in case of people not playing Oath or probably not being good on Oath, then Jewel suddenly goes up. So you can easily in this scenario say that Jewel is both A tier and S tier, but I'll keep her here because of the value she provides if there's no Oath in the game. But then again, if you're fighting and you're meeting an Oath, so I want to say like this is a strong dynamic in how they work towards each other. Now Jewel then also have a lot of options being able to choose. Say you meet an Oath team, you have another team that is not an Oath. Okay, you can also choose to take the fight against Oath, but you can also play in a way where the third team potentially can then kill the Oath. So you play a chess game where you're forcing people to play and fight the Oath before you do, so you can third party potentially. And there are a lot of good options with this, so that's why I want to keep Oath in S tier if you play smart around it. But I do think that Oath is just a different beast at the moment. Over to Kingpin. I think Kingpin has a lot of good one-shot potential. His kit is good, but he struggles against range and is easily abusable against range characters. I do think his kit is good and has potential of... Oh, that was a little bit too far. But I do think he's not there to be in the A tier yet. But you can get value. I could justify putting him in bottom A compared to the damage output and one-shot potential if you build him that way. But in most cases, if people are playing it well with the range and poke, I do think Kingpin will struggle. Now, he has a good thing where he is really strong against other hunters in the tier below him, but also because of the environment of having a lot more teams, he also have the chance of hooking more people and being able to catch people off guard. but probably not enough to get him all the way up to A tier. Now with Myth is really strong currently. I would instantly put her up in top of A tier. Her kit is strong, her range is good, and her survivability is also very good. I think she fits well with a lot of different hunters, and her power level is quite high, so I think you will get a lot of value from Myth in duos. I would recommend trying her out. Over to Shiv. Shiv like chaotic environments. She does. And she needs to play on the edge. And as I mentioned before with Shiv, is that the better you are on Shiv, the instantly higher you get on a list. Now, the skill is extremely important. If you're picking up Shiv as a first time, your value will be here. But if you work yourself up, I do think you can get value of Shiv up onto the A tier together with these people. That's why I would hold it and say it's around this tier where her average output level is in the B tier, but has a high potential of getting higher up depending on how good you are on Shiv, basically. And her Shrike. Guys, we talked about this. If you are new to the game, if you're a beginner, Shrike is mega broken, but the better you get at the game, the worse Shrike becomes. Her range is good, but her mobility sucks, and it's easy to juke her damage, and with multiple teams around, Shrike is not really happy. I wouldn't recommend. Then over to Void. Now Void, he really struggles in chaotic environments. Now he has neat and good combos together with other top tier hunters, but I do think he really struggles in the environments where there are lots of teams and lots of potential high range counterparts, but also then the surprise elements of catching him off. I do think he really struggles in duo and is really hard to pilot to be able to get the value out of, but I do think he's a strong hunter. But you need to be really good on Void to be able to get that value in a duo setting. And then Seph, lastly. I do think Seph has a very high power level currently. His kit is really strong. I would probably say that Seph is up here somewhere. Because of his mobility, it is something that you really need to learn. His mobility on the base level is low, but if you learn to use a shift and B hopping together, then his mobility is really good. His damage output is high if you use his passive well enough, and his healing together is also very good. Now, he's a harder hunter to pilot, so again in the same boat of where like Shiv, I think it's easier to get value out of Seph, but then again he can get higher up if you're really good at Seph, but I wouldn't put him too high as this. So this kind of concludes my duo tier list. Do note the intricacies between how they work together. I would say that the best combo you probably can go in duos right now is probably Oath and Myth, if you want to be safe. Again, if you're lucky and nobody wants to pick up Oath, then Jewel instantly becomes a lot stronger, but I do think like the power of Oath and Myth is extremely strong at the moment, with the range, the engage potential, and the sustain. Will probably run most lobbies if played in a good manner. But then again, remember to play what you think is fun. If you are extremely good at your hunter, you can beat S tier hunters, because if they're not good enough on their hunters, they won't be able to provide the value of what their brokenness is, basically. So I hope you guys enjoy this type of video. Let me know what you want to learn and hear about next. If you like it, make sure you like. If you want to follow more, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.